from Armory Studios in Central Florida. You're listening to Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Trouble gas, no break.
And now, give it up for your hosts, CJ, Kevin, Jimmy, and Harrison. Take it away, boys. What's going on, Jets Nation? Welcome to another edition of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, CJ the Painkiller DeSimone, and I'm normally joined by my all-star squadron. One of my partners in crime, one of my wingmen, Mr. Kevin Jackson. He's running a little bit behind, so he will be joining me momentarily. And Jimmy the Reaper Jardine is currently MIA. I know that last week he had a little bit of a family emergency that he was dealing with, so I'm hoping that got handled and all that good stuff. So in the meantime, I'm going to be your pilot, taking us through tonight, flying the ship solo until my reinforcements arrive, as we talk a little New York Jets, Buffalo Bills, Jets dropping their season finale 27-10 to the Buffalo Bills in what could be considered kind of like the Jets junior varsity team actually going out there and playing versus the Buffalo Bills, who were getting ready for the playoffs. So Zach Wilson looked okay in this game. I mean, he struggled a lot. Had a lot of bad mechanical issues going on. And, you know, one of the biggest things is we really weren't looking well, listen, I'm not going to speak for everybody. I'm going to speak for myself. I was not really looking for the Jets to come out and actually go out there and beat Buffalo, although I would have liked to. I didn't pick them to beat Buffalo in this game. So, but what I did wanted them to do was I wanted them to build off of the success that they had against Tampa Bay, where they pretty much had the world champs on the ropes for a good portion of the game. And then, you know, just kind of ran out of gas at the end. So one of the biggest things that I looked at, to be honest with you, when I'm looking at the New York Jets as a whole, you know, kudos to the defense. The defense kept them in, you know, despite fielding a mash unit. You know, CJ Mosley did what he could. But, you know, the Jets offensive line and, you know, the Jets offense basically being without the majority of their wide receivers. I mean, they had Jamison Crowder. They didn't have Braxton Berrios or Elijah Moore for this game. So both of them were out. You lose Jamison Crowder pretty much for half the game because he ends up re-injuring a calf. So you have Denzel Mims, who was out there with DJ Montgomery and Tyreek Black. And Tyreek Black actually made a pretty cool catch that kind of drew some attention to everything. So that's a really cool thing. The only thing is we wanted to see more people kind of go out there and perform. You know, Michael Carter was out there. Ty Johnson was out there. Zach Wilson trying to make something happen. You know, but just a lot of things. A lot of things that did not go Jets' way in an incredibly difficult environment. So my co-host is actually joining me right now. Let's key up some music here. As if this thing will ever play, Windows Media Player just absolutely sucks today. I don't know, man. But anyhow, I digress. Let me bring on one of my co-hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the man, the legend, Mr. Black himself, Mr. Kevin Jackson.
Good evening, everybody.
I'm going to play some music over here for you today.
There we go.
Listen, it ain't a show. We have some sort of like a technical difficulty somewhere,
right? It just seems to be the way that it works, right? Look, I'm thankful to be back, man. Thank you again. Thank you again for the intro. You know, obviously, I appreciate it. The end of a somewhat difficult season. I can't even say that there aren't any questions in particular that aren't like hugely pressing. Even more than maybe there was last season, but I guess as we go along, I'm sure we'll talk about it. But we got a lot to, I guess, to look forward to, man, and a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, we do. I mean, there were, believe it or not, there were actually some. You know what? We got it from good old Nick Shine, who might want to join the show.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try and get him on. So I mean, look, did we really expect anything from the Jets versus the Buffalo Bills this week? I mean, like, look, we all dreamed, myself included. I wanted to be so wrong last week when I had said I didn't think that the Jets were going to beat Buffalo, and I expected this to be like a 60-10 whitewash. Because, I mean, hey, let's face it. You know, last year the Buffalo Bills were in a similar position. They basically they didn't really need the game because regardless whether they would have won or they lost the game, if the New England Patriots lost their game against the Miami Dolphins, which they in fact did, the Buffalo Bills would have ended up backing into the AFC East division title. So, to me, this game really didn't mean anything to them. So they could have started like the J squad if they wanted to. So, I mean, were we really expecting the Jets to win? I know that we were trying. The way that I was looking at it was, look, you had east of a game versus the world in which you almost. All right, I know that there's no moral victories in football, but if you're looking for a silver lining, you went toe-to-toe with the world champs, fielding 50% of your active roster, and the rest being a bunch of backups and a bunch of bums that you signed, you know, up off under the bridge like 2 days ago. All right? And then you could even make the same argument for the Buffalo Bills game. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I'm drinking the green and white Kool-Aid, and the green and white goggles, because, you know, certain people are going to be all up in the comments being like, oh, you're guzzling the Kool-Aid. Just keep guzzling the Kool-Aid, CJ. But, you know, I mean, look, you can't deny the effort that was put together on the field. Like Robert Saleh had these players ready to kick some ass, all right? They, as far as I'm concerned, they laid it all out on the field. So, I mean, I couldn't be prouder of this squad. Take a look at the Buffalo game there, Kevin. This was 13-10 until about 7 minutes in the fourth quarter. So at any time, Jets just needed one play.
Yeah.
Right. It just needed one play. They needed the offense to make one play, and they could have took the lead. And then the defense would have just had to dig deep, get those clamps down, and try to win that ball game.
Yeah. A really tall tail. A tall ask for the defense obviously is difficult. Look, I'm just going to keep it real. No, we didn't expect to win this game, but when we had Ryan on last week, I remember saying to him very specifically, we always play Buffalo tough when we come there. I mean, the expectation is that, you know, we're not going to go in and we're not going to go and expect to blow them out, but they shouldn't expect to blow us out either, really. And I mean, just that's really what it is that we want out of this team, especially at this point in the process, right? So I don't know, man. I mean, I'm going to say that I'm going to take some positive out of it just because I know that there was a lot of negative to the game, but I think that some of what was negative can be explained away, or at least can I don't like to want to say it that way, so let me be careful with my words, but you can kind of point to why we had some of the difficulties that we had, and you can point to how it is that it's not going to look that way next season, including the defense that's going to get back, really high caliber guys that we're not going to have to trade or draft. They're gonna it's kind of built in getting Carl Lawson and those guys back.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge boost for the New York Jets going into next year, is the fact that we're getting a lot of who were hurt this year. And now next year we'll be able to get some of these players back. But, make no mistake about it. I don't know if you were able to listen to the Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas end of year, but it was something that I paid attention to. Yeah. And after I listened to it live, I went ahead and I went back and I watched it again and then watched it again, just because I wanted to make sure that I heard what I was actually hearing.
Yeah.
Joe Douglas was incredibly 100% truthful. He basically took the blame for this crappy season. And where in the NFL are you going to have a GM that's to sit there and say, I have to do better because 6 wins in 2 years is unacceptable for us? We need to start winning now. This is New York. We expect results. Now, granted, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say all of that, but the majority of it he did say, and that was the gist that I got. So, what was your thoughts from what you call it? What thoughts about the press conference that you take away from it?
I think he responded well to some of the difficult questions that we have, and I mean, obviously we're in a situation as fans and as a on a whole as a fan base, we're just getting tired, right? And I mean, he said what it is that he needed to say, and I think some of the realities of where in the process we are kind of do settle in, because we do, need to draft well. We do need to bring in free agents. We do need to do all of those things. And he's absolutely right. 2 and 6 games over 2 seasons is not acceptable. But you kind of got to realize that 2 of those wins came last season with a completely different setup, and again, we're in a place where it's not fair to judge them on what was happening when the last regime was here. But the last coaching staff was here. Pardon me, but Joe Douglas himself has some responsibility in this, and I think that he manned up a little bit today. So, or excuse me, in that press conference. Pardon me. I think that he really didn't say anything that we didn't expect him to say, though. Yeah, that's what I said. He didn't say anything we didn't expect.
Yeah, I 100% complete. I 100% agree. And then some people made the determination that they felt like Robert Saleh was being rather cryptic about some of his off season, but I don't think he was cryptic at all. I think that he flat out just said, we made some improvements. Yeah, we didn't get the desired result that we wanted this season, which was obviously a winning season and to play for the postseason, but they started playing much, much better down the stretch. And both you, me, Jimmy had come out and said that the month of December is when we expect the Jets to playing their best football, because they had gone through so much crap early in the year.
Yeah.
So we started to see Zach Wilson take those steps forward. He's not at the level that we would all like, not at the level we would all feel comfortable going into next season. But you know what? He still made those steps forward. If he was still turning the ball over 3-4 times a game, still having issues with his mechanics, still having issues with his footwork, just being a complete turnover machine like we watched Sam Darnold do, we would be going into this offseason with wins and answers. But I think for me, I don't feel we have as many questions going forward as we did last year coming into this season that we just, because I feel like that a significant talent deficit on this team. We know the areas of need. We know the areas that need to be refortified. And now the onus is going to be on Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh to put their heads together along with the rest of their coaching staff, the rest of their pro scouting staff, to go out and to get those horses that we need to be competitive next year.
Point blank.
Because if Robert Saleh goes out next year and they have a 5-12 season, or they have another 4-13 season, some serious questions are going to be asked, not only of Joe Douglas, but of the coaching staff too. And then don't be surprised if you start hearing, chants rain down, fire Joe Douglas, fire Robert Saleh, just like they were doing before.
We won't get banners on airplanes, but we'll definitely start to hear, really loudly, some of the folks who, are really just fed up at this point. Look, factually, Joe Douglas has more responsibility, I guess, at this point, because he has been here longer and he has had his thumb, kind of in position a little longer than Robert Saleh has. And Robert Saleh, you think about it, he comes in as this really highly touted guy, and he may, have, and I mean, we don't know, obviously, and I like Joe Douglas, but he may have been put in a situation where, he's not going to have all of what it is that he needs to be successful. And that is going to be based on what Joe Douglas does. So I know we're going to talk about draft and all of that probably later, but, I'm expecting Joe Douglas is probably feeling a little bit of the pressure right now. And I'm not going to say he's going to go and do something out of character. But I do think that what it is that he is going to do is he's going to be a lot more aggressive maybe than what it is that we think. And that may include some things that we don't expect either. I kind of have a feeling that we don't draft at 4 or 10. I mean, I'll just throw that out right now. I really kind of think that there's going to be a lot of movement that goes on early and late. We don't have any really late round picks, but we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, this is the problem. I think is that, again, Joe Douglas is responsible for not only adding starting caliber talent, but also filling out the depth at the back end. And, you kind of bring in guys and you see which cream rises to the top and which guys are going to be, that depth. And then you add more guys. And, as of right now, this is going to be, I guess, maybe the third season where he's going to have, a serious hand in adding personnel. And we really need to see how he does that, how well he actually is able to give Robert Saleh what he needs before we actually start, pulling out the pitchforks for Robert Saleh also.
Right. I completely agree. And the thing is that, look, we've been talking about this for months, that we need to let football people do football work. And I just feel like that until we do, until we actually let our football people do football work, we're going to continue to have these questions. But I definitely think that those questions will in fact be answered, because we're going to see that, to me, further than the New York organization, and that a bunch is that people taking accountability, right? How many times have we heard in this organization, or have we been as fans for accountability? People go out there and be accountable for the actions. If you screw up, take the hit for it. If you don't, if somebody else screws up, they should go out and take the hit for it. So we've kind of asked Douglas to come in and to fix a train wreck that he basically had to strip down to the studs to start all over again, because the person running a train wreck was a train wreck himself. Yeah. So then, the debacle of Adam Gase being head coach would basically, as far as I'm concerned, the Jets just punted on 2 years and pretty much the rest of Sam Darnold's rookie contract. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but Joe Douglas is he's responsible for a lot of it.
He's going to be responsible. Look, I'm going to be that guy, right? Because I'm the guy that says that where we stand right now is where we need to have maybe even more patience. And I think that the reason why we would give patience is because we would be optimistic about the direction that we've seen. Are we sold immediately now 1,000% on Zach Wilson? No. But at this point in time, I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think that we probably should be. there's an extremely small percentage of rookie quarterbacks that come in and right out the gate that the kid's going to be a baller. And I mean, we've seen Zach do things, where he's got baller tendencies, and we can see that, but we haven't seen it, come to fruition, because not only is he having his own growing pains, but the team around him is kind of going through some of them same growing pains. So, Joe Douglas is in a difficult spot, but so is Robert Saleh, so is Zach Wilson, so is everybody else that puts on a helmet or rubs down a knee or tapes an ankle. Everybody in there is kind of feeling pressure right now, because the expectation is that we're supposed to be making all of these huge strides. And it's really just been a really difficult season. That question Rich Samini asked the other day about, why would you feel confident about Zach? I kind of think that was a kind of an ass question to ask, but there is some, I guess there is some validity in asking the question, because I think it's kind of low hanging fruit. You can say that Zach really hasn't played well this season. There's film. There's really, crazy instances, and it's because it's the Jets that nobody's really going to do the homework and watch all of the games. They'll just take what it is that they see in the highlights, and they'll run with it. Even the highlights don't even show really the best of what it is that we have. They just, they treat us like the Jets, so we can expect that. But the problem is that we kind of do see that progress, even if it is incremental and slow. We have more increments to go, and this is really where we kind of need to ease up a little bit, maybe, and kind of wait until after we see what happens in free agency or the draft. Like, I don't want to spend my whole entire offseason being pissed off because one thing or another isn't happening. I really just want to see what it looks like. I just want to see what it looks like when we go into the season.
Yeah, I completely agree, because what was the one thing that we all said last year where we eyed what was the one thing that we had said last year going into the offseason, that the entire offseason was just a complete and utter question mark, and just from that particular question mark itself, we didn't know who the head coaching candidates were. We were afraid who Christopher Johnson was on the phone was. We didn't know what direction this franchise was going. The only thing that we were happy about was, thank God that Adam Gase was out of the building, and we probably were going to have to call a few priests to perform exorcisms to get all the freaking soul bodies out of one Jets drive so it's been purified. Okay? So, I mean, anything short of burning the building down to the studs would have probably been acceptable, at that point. So, hired Robert Saleh. When Joe Douglas had his introductory press conference with Robert Saleh, I didn't get that feeling like, okay, here we go. Here's another guy who's trying to pitch his own guy. Oh, great. They got Vin Diesel to coach a Vin Diesel lookalike to coach the team. Oh, great. This should be good. Okay. I actually felt like, all right, well, he's your right. Well, guess what? You two are joined at the hip, and I don't want to hear any more slogans that you guys are going to put on the back of T-shirts or whatever they're going to do, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other thing. You know how you could show me? You want to prove me? You want me to buy in? Go on the field
and do it.
Show me a product that's worth rooting for, and then I'll begin to buy in.
I don't know.
Now, at the beginning of the season, we all got excited. We all got excited, right? We were all like, oh, yeah, we should be able to do this. This is going to be great, right? People were predicting double-digit wins. We were saying, yeah, Jets history, first-time head coaches, when they come in, first-year head coaches have a tendency to do really, really well because it's a new voice in the locker room. But here's what we had working against us. Starting 10 rookies right off the bat. Most rookies out of any NFL team whatsoever. All right? Rookie quarterback, revamped offensive line, which we really didn't know what we were going to get out of them, right? Went from 4 preseason games to 3 preseason games. And even in the preseason games, we still had questions as to did we have a legitimate quarterback competition, or did the kid just get the quarterback position? Did the kid get the start by default?
I don't
Then we started
think
with
there was an
debates, right?
expectation for any other quarterback starting this season. I don't know about that. I don't think there was
No,
any
I don't think.
about that.
But if you hindsight, if you take a look at it, right? Do you think that when Zach got hurt, right? Zach ended up getting hurt, and he was out for a couple games. And then when he came back, he looked much better, and he was playing much better than he did before he got hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my argument is, do you think the kid would have benefited by sitting 4 or 5 games at the beginning of the season?
I mean,
throwing a Mike White to the wall.
I think rookies should sit a year anyway. I mean, just realistically, I think rookies should sit a year. But there are situations where they can play themselves in, right? But this situation is different. This situation isn't a situation where the expectation was, Mike White was gonna start and Zach was gonna have an opportunity to sit and learn. This was all about, what? Zach is our guy. We feel like the kid's got the skill to be able to kind of learn on the fly. So we're gonna give him that shot. We think that he's got enough of what it takes to be able to hold his own. And for the most part, he hasn't been able to hold his own. But I think Robert Saleh said it best when he said, yeah, Zach is kind of getting it all right now. He's learning everything now, right? And that's what it is that we've seen. The injury allowed him to kind of sit back and maybe gain a little perspective, which I think is what really has been the improvement that we've seen in this game. It just looks like he's seeing things differently, and sometimes you change your perspective, it changes your understanding, you do different and better stuff. So look, where we are right now, I still think that we're in a pretty good position. I think there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to have complaints, and I think that's cool to have them. We can discuss the merits of them as you see fit, and hit me up at Ask Body Black. If you enjoy it, you could we can discuss that ad nauseum if you have time and if I have time. But I don't think this is time to jump off the cliff, and there's so many people that's standing on the cliff right now, kind of teetering and tottering, waiting for a stiff wind. As soon as the stiff wind blows, somebody's going to fall off, and I'm not going to be the one that's going to sit back and say, if we don't get XYZ free agent, that the sky is falling and the season is over. We brought in guys. We bring in guys every year that we think, this guy's going to do well. This guy's going to, we can talk ourselves into a guy, that we like or that we want to play well. And if he, has a couple of tackles or makes a couple of plays where he's visible, we can justify liking him and keeping him on the team. But I think what we're needing to do right now is we're needing to see more guys that are making plays, and we don't have enough of them right now. This is
right.
We're kind of in a spot right now where anybody that you bring in, should be able to contribute. What's the cliche? The play doesn't care who makes it. We just need more guys that's really looking to make it. And unfortunately, it's going to take time coming from where it is that we were, right? We are the Jets. It's not like we don't know, what our GM situation has looked like for the past many of years. It's not like we don't know, how they've made the mistakes, especially when you're talking about the rookie head coaches in particular, because Todd Bowles came in and had a great first season, right? And we were really excited about that. Rex came in, what happened when Rex came in, and Adam Gase came in and I don't know, it looked okay, I guess, or at least it looked like we were moving in the right direction, and then it fell off the damn cliff. And that happened with all of them. The same thing with Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles, he fell off the cliff. Rex Ryan fell off the cliff. This, I think, is different because I think that the circumstances surrounding everything else are different.
So it's just really frustrating because, when every year for the offseason, we always talk about, things that we wanted to see happen, things that we wished that would have actually happened. And, this season, especially with Zach Wilson and the development of Zach Wilson, there were fans that were split, right? We talked about this during the offseason where we had, people saying that wins and losses weren't matter. Truly, it was more about the development of Zach Wilson, the development of the rookies, and us being able to be a competitive football team in 2022.
Yeah.
Whereas others were like, yeah, we could still be competitive. What are you saying? How could you say it's not about wins and losses? What's wrong with you? And then all of a sudden, we started with the whole bullshit that hey, you're not a real Jets fan. How could you root for? How could you not root for wins and losses? How could you root against your team and this, that, and the third? And it's like me just sitting here going, you just don't get it, do you? I want to see my quarterback develop. I want to see the rookie linebackers that we have here develop. I want to see the rookie safeties and the rookie corners come in and develop. Because if they do, then guess what? Then that's going to make it all of us. So, and to throw his 2 cents in on this situation, ladies and gentlemen, introduce Mr. Nick Shine Jr. to the show. Nick, can you hear me?
What's up?
How are you?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I can't see myself. Can you guys see me?
Can't see you, Nick. I can hear you, though. Welcome aboard, brother.
Welcome.
But I can hear you. Welcome aboard. So, Nick, you have any comments for what I just talked about? Because you and I, last week on Weapons Hot, along with Mr. Scott Gillespie, who was nice enough to give us a few minutes of his time to join us. Man, Kevin, you should have been there for that because you would have had a blast. Yeah. But here's the thing. We had so many different – there were different fans, different factions of the fan base expectations when it came to the team. And everybody criticizing the other as to what was really realistic or not. So, Nick, I'm curious to hear what you thought. I know you've been listening to the show up to this point. So I'm curious as to your 2 cents worth. What say you about what Kevin and I have been kicking around here to the Jets going into the offseason?
Well, everybody always has a different vision on how for their team to get great, right? Everyone's got, some say, oh, we need a weapon. Others say we need a lineman. Some say we need to win games with the young QB. Some say, hey, we're not good enough. We need more blue chip players. The last couple of years, I heard you guys talking about with Rex and then with Bowles, the issues with those teams were they were all veteran built, right? We sucked so bad at drafting that we haven't been able to sustain any flashes of quality football because we haven't been able to build up the roster. We don't have guys on second contracts. That's why we have so much cap room year after year, because guys haven't been good enough to deserve or get extensions. This year with Zach down the end, and especially with the luxury of the Seahawks, and I almost nailed it. Since last April, I've called Seattle to be 6-11, and it's one of those things that I feel like I was manifesting by talking about it week in and week out. And I just missed, and they got to 7-10. So now what I'm manifesting is Aiden Hutchinson being there at 4. That's all I'm going to talk about for the next 4 months. He's got that physical prep. We'll get it more into that later, I'm sure. But that's my new manifestation. But I wanted to see Zach win games. And then Moore goes out, Davis goes out, Crowder goes out.
Yeah.
He didn't throw interceptions. He was on his 4th left tackle. He was on – Adoga was in there at one point. I didn't even know Adoga still had access to the building. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the guy's out there on the field one day, like playing, protecting Zach's backside. You're on your second center. You're on your second right tackle. You're on your 4th tight end. Carter was out. You're on your second – Coleman was out. For Zach not to throw interceptions the last 5 games, I know he held the ball too long, but I think he was more concerned with protecting the ball and maybe taking a 10, 15-yard loss than throwing a pick. But now we got him not throwing picks. Let's get him not taking 15-yard losses, the next step in the progression, right?
Right.
But as the weapons get better around him, the kid's going to play
right.
better.
I agree with that 1,000,000%, right? The reality is that, again, that's what we were kind of just talking about as you come in, Nick, and welcome aboard first. Let me say that.
Thank you. What was your name? It's not on the screen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm Kevin or Spotty.
Nice to meet you,
Nice to meet you too, Nick. the fact is that is in particular why we are in the position that we are, and why I think we should actually be a little more patient in the process, right? We've seen Joe Douglas have more, kind of success in basically 1 year than we've seen in 10, right? Prior to that. So, where we stand right now, if we get 2 or 3 guys next season that end up really starting and even more, kind of contributing to the depth of this team, it does look a lot different. It does, kind of change the whole conversation about, where we should be with regards to wins and losses or meaningful football late in the season. But we kind of got to get there. And right now, I think no ripping our hair out, about, if this guy or that guy isn't going to be here, we kind of just have to wait and see what the finished product looks like. I see one of my boys, and I'm thankful to have Nick tonight, but my man Jeremy Cravat in the building. My guy, good to see you. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's up? Every time I see you, I just want to call you Spotty Too Hottie.
That's what's up.
Is he gonna do the worm?
I've been called much worse than that. Trust me, I've been called much worse than that. Look, welcome aboard, brother. We've been kind of kicking around this whole, what the trajectory of the team looks like and where it is that we kind of are. Nick just offered some really awesome perspective with regards to kind of talent, or us being maybe talent bereft a little bit. What do you think? You have any thoughts about the state of the team coming out of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what was exposed in our team, because I know a lot of people say injuries, but what that exposed was that we are, it was only, we stripped down the team. We drafted a bunch of guys. We signed some guys, and it looked good on paper when you looked at the guys who were going to come in at the starting positions. But injuries are a part of football, and it takes time to build the depth, right? And to have a deep team. So when you look at other teams, championship type teams, and they have injuries, they could still win because they have deeper rosters. And it's going to take us time to get there. It's more than just getting that starting 22 guys. A team, is 53, 48 dress, and you have to have, it has to go beyond that 22.
Absolutely. And that again, Idzik having, a million draft picks and none of them actually panning out, that really does hurt, because you figure maybe it's those guys aren't, superstar players, but if even a few of those guys pan out and make it to their second contracts because we're developing them properly, that does change the whole dynamic when it comes to do you have a guy that can kind of step in and win games when you need him to? And we have a long way to go, I think, still in that process. I mean, we're looking at guys right now that are starting that really shouldn't be, right? But within the next 2 or 3 years, they might actually be those depth guys, those veteran kind of guys that you have in your locker room that have been here. They've done that. They know, what it was like when, or they will know what it was like when we were kind of going through this stage of the process, and they'll know what it's like when we start winning. And those are the kind of guys that, obviously we want to have and we want to add to our locker room, because that is the culture changer, right? That's the whole point about what Joe Douglas and these guys are talking about with building a culture. I don't know, CJ, I know we were kind of transitioning. Did you have a next spot where you wanted to go right now? I didn't want to kind of jump ahead.
No, that's fine. One of the things that I do want to do, lost Nick for a second, trying to see if we can get him. He's trying to work through his technical difficulties over there. I do have a couple questions in the chat that I want to get on. Shout out to Richard Tinley. Huge fan of the show. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. Hey, guys, do we use the 5th-year option on Quinton Williams? So what do you guys think? So we'll start with Kevin, then we'll go to Jeremy, and then we'll circle back around to Nick, who is rejoining. So now that we can actually see him.
Right.
How to reboot the iPhone, man.
Yeah, that's what's up. So the question is, I'm where it is that we stand right now. There's so much that's left up in the air. Ask me the question one more time, just so I can make sure I'm answering in detail.
You're that stressed over it, huh?
Yeah, I'm just.
All right. Well, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that question. So save that for the second question. I'm a listener. And I want to get this question on because I'm like super excited to anytime we get new people in the feed, it's always great. Shout out to Miss Natasha Lesh, actually Senior Airman Natasha Lesh from Patrick Space Force Space Pharmacy. Woo! Give it up for the man, 45th group, baby. Question for the panel. So how long has the Jets love been going on here from our boys? So we'll circle around. This time we're going to start with Nick. We'll go to Jeremy, and then we'll finish up with Kevin, and I'll follow up the rear.
How long have we been Jets fans?
Basically,
you glitched a little bit on the question. Yeah. I became a Jet fan the Wesley Welker walk-off game against the Dolphins, 51-45. My grandfather took me for my birthday. We sat in the last row of the stadium. Ironically, when I got season tickets on my own in 2000, I was also in the last row of the stadium. Never sat in my seat once in 11 years. We went to that game. They hit the walk-off. The walk-off came right at us. I turned to my grandfather and said, "This is the greatest thing ever. This is the best team I've ever seen. I'm a Jet fan now." Yeah, I was wrong. But that was the day where I was hooked. The Welker walk-off. And a couple years ago, my girlfriend at the time and my two kids, we go to the game, and Wesley's signing things outside. And I told them that story, and I go, "I have you to blame for all of this."
Wow. How about you, Jeremy? How long you been a Jets fan?
I've been a Jet fan. I was about in '82. It was the year before the Mud Bowl year against Miami. I was probably in 5th grade, and I don't remember if it was how much of the season I watched, but I remember the first passionate moment where I really cared about a football game was a wild card game against Buffalo. It was the year, so it was the year before, but we had the sack exchange, Richard Todd, and I remember passionately being devastated. Like Richard Todd threw an interception right at the end of that wild card game.
What a surprise. Todd threw an interception.
Right. It was like foreshadowing for what was to come the following year. Because he threw it into, we're like making a comeback. We're at like the 23-yard line. We're at their 23. Near the end of the game, he throws a pick. And I remember being so upset. I'm punched to the floor. And a friend from my 5th grade class was with me, and we were both screaming, upset, mad. And then that was just, that was it for me. I mean, the whole next year was passion. I mean, it was passionate Jets fan from that point on.
All right, Kevin, you're up. How long you been a Jets fan?
Yeah,
Kevin's glitching a little bit. Go.
That's awesome. You guys' stories,
right,
they're really, yeah. The stories are really dope. As a teenager, my uncle Richard was a towel and a water boy for the Jets, and I mean, I'm a child. Yeah, 6, 7 years old. All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. As a kid, my uncle, teenager, he's a towel, he's a water boy for the Jets. Takes me to practice, and I'm standing on the sideline, and I'm seeing guys, Bobby Jackson and all these other players. And that was kind of it. Like that, my first really experience with football close up. Because I mean, I wasn't really even playing football at that point in time. I was still, kind of really young. But my first experience with football was, being in the stands and all of that, and it was just an awesome experience. I've never been a fan really of another team the way that I have of the Jets. And I mean, we follow players. I mean, there were times, growing up where the AFC Championship games, or at least relevant playoff, team, and then we start winning, and Vinny and Chad and all of that, and then it moves a little bit, and we start to get to the outgrowths. and then
Outgrow wasn't
Herms and all
bad
that,
until
and
the end of
I'm
that
excited.
season.
I was born in New York and kind of spent a lot of time in New York as a kid. Then we moved to California, so I'm on the other coast, watching the Rams and watching the Raiders play, and that was a big deal. And then the dynasty in San Francisco and all of that. So I was there through a lot of that. But still remained a Jets fan. And then came home. I had the I guess the pleasure of saying that every Jets game that I had ever been to live, they won. They won. CJ's flag is dead.
Would you go to one game?
All right, guys. Yeah, that was it. So I mean, I've been a Jets fan for 40 years, 40 some odd years now, almost.
Nice.
So yeah, we go deep. We go way back with this.
I heard you mention the Niners. If you guys have Peacock, I heard there's a Joe Montana documentary.
Are you close right now, or can you hear me?
Can hear you. Your
Yep,
audio doesn't match your video.
Yeah.
I was saying, if you guys have Peacock, there's a really good documentary on Joe Montana right now. My son and I are watching it. We just started, but it's awesome. Joe Montana was the best.
It's so funny, right? Because you didn't even have to be a fan of the Niners to know that. Like he was.
He transcended teams. You just liked him. He was perfect.
Yeah, he was the guy.
Yeah,
he was the man.
I mean, for us being AFC fans, we don't have an issue with them. But I'm sure if you talk to Cowboys, Giants fans, like we hate Brady. Teams in the NFC, they're like, "Oh, Brady's so great," and we're like, "Fuck that, he's the devil."
He's an asshole.
But being a Jet fan, when as a kid, Joe Montana was as cool as it got, man.
Yeah, he was the absolute best. I argued
the Haynes commercials, all that shit. He was just the coolest dude in the world.
I argued forever that he was like, remember the debates, Marino or Montana, and I was like, give me a break. Like people used to fight over that. I finally waived. I think the Atlanta Super Bowl with Brady finally made me just like throw in the towel and say, okay, Brady.
Brady going to Tampa made me. I was like, all right. Yeah. Now I can appreciate it, not have my blood boil.
Yeah.
On that being said, go Eagles.
Exactly. All right, so I've been a Jet fan. Woo! So I've been a Jets fan now since 1979. I'm pushing 45 years?
42. Much, I was born in 78, so
44, 45 years. Yeah. So for me, what got me as a fan was a lot of my friends growing up were Giants fans. So I wanted to be different. So that's what I did. I ended up rooting for the Jets. My favorite player was Bobby Jackson. Another one of my favorite players was Al Toon. Another one of my favorite players was Wesley Walker. Another one of my favorite players, Freeman McNeil, Johnny Hector. So these were all guys that I grew up with and I liked. So being a Jets fan was an incredibly stressful time. I mean, obviously, the Walt Michaels years actually weren't that bad. Then the Joe Walton, the Joe Walton was just a mess. I think we had one or two good years underneath him. And then after that, it was just a complete disaster. I think he was pretty much responsible for Bobby Jackson's NFL career. I'm convinced of that. So then, you had your Bruce Koslitz, your Rich Kotite, your Pete Carroll, who coached 1 year in between all of that. And then you really started to get respectability once we had Bill Parcells. Then Al Groh, Herman Edwards, Eric Mangini, right? So for me, just watching Ken O'Brien out there, watching Richard Todd out there, watching Boomer Esiason there, watching Glenn Foley, just the emotions of people that back, other than Ken O'Brien and Chad Pennington and Anthony Testaverde for the couple of years that he was there. For me, that's what did it. I mean, when I used to play football in the street with my buddy, Steve Sackey, He actually lives over in Bradenton now. He's a buddy of mine. We grew up on Swinton Avenue in the Bronx and Throgs Neck. And, we always pretended we were Ken O'Brien, Wesley Boone, and we always played football in the snow, tackle football in the snow, two-hand, where like three sewer cats, middle sewer was the first down. So we had so many neighbors yelling out at us over there, "Yo, kids, yo, stay away from my car!" So we would okay, you're gonna go 5 steps and do a button hook at the Buick over there, and then cut across. So yeah, those are fun times, fun times, and just ever since, loves. Just I used to get so much trash talk, but you know what? I mean, we have just as many good memories as we had bad. The only problem is we just don't have that chip to show for it. So once we get that chip, then the load will lighten a lot. So
we have good memories.
Right, so anyhow,
we don't have the ultimate memory. And I just got to add, when you were naming all those names, the guy who I was.
So once we win the Super Bowl, I'm telling you, I'm going to be that.
The guy who I loved being as a kid when teams did kickoffs.
I'm going to be that guy.
It was the greatest name in all of sports when I was a kid. JoJo Townsell. I love the name JoJo Townsell. He did a kickoff or a punt return. I'm JoJo Townsell.
I love Mickey Schuler.
Wow.
Mickey Schuler was my tight end, man. I loved him. That's when I was a kid. I used to pretend I was him. Like, I'll never drop the ball, just catch every pass.
If we could only have protected Ken O'Brien, if we could have kept him upright, man.
Yeah, we destroyed him.
That offense was elite when we could protect him.
Yep.
Ken O'Brien needed Joe Douglas making picks for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Pennington too.
Good stuff. That was a good
All
stuff.
right, guys, we're going to transition now. Obviously, some somber news, obviously, for Jets Nation on Monday. Famed wide receiver Don Maynard, member of the New York Jets' only Super Bowl championship team in Super Bowl III, 86. Joe Namath actually put out a couple of tweets that were absolutely beautiful in remembrance of Don Maynard. And, he loved Don not only as a teammate, but also as a person. Always spoke very, very highly of him. He's always been an ambassador of the New York Jets organization. Just a picture of class and gratuity. And just it's says, but when you go and take a look at his career, all right, think of it this way, Jet fans. The New York Jets at one time had the all-time leading wide receiver in the NFL, and that was Don Maynard.
Yeah,
he went to the Hall of Fame in '83, and he was well deserving of the honor. So, Nick, we'll start with you, then we'll circle over to Jeremy. I know you probably gotten to see highlights of Don Maynard, but what would you take away from this, and how to honor that the number 13 will never be worn by another New York Jet ever again?
I was born in '78, so I never got to see him play, but through ESPN Classic, YouTube, and all the highlights. Whenever you see a Joe Namath highlight, you see throwing to Maynard, right? Throwing one deep to Maynard. And something cool that I learned this week was that in the Super Bowl, he had 0 catches. And his quote after the game was a quote that an ultimate team player would make. And his quote was, "I had the game of my life. I lined up wide right. They sent 2 or 3 to cover me every play, and we were able to do things on the other side of the field. When in the history of the NFL have you ever heard a wide receiver, the diva position, say that they had a great game with 0 catches? I can't think of another guy. It just shows you that what winning meant to him, the sacrifice he would make for the betterment of the team, and the type of man that he was. So nothing but respect for everything my father and grandfather ever told me about him. And you know, it was a sad day for the Jets. Not that I'm happy it happened, but I'm happy when it did happen, the team was able to address it. They were having their media day like an hour later. So the team was able to pay him and his family some homage. If it happens a couple days later, it's just a press release, right? Yeah. So not that it was good that it happened, but I thought the timing of it was almost perfect. Like the season's over. You can make a joke and say that this season killed him watching it. Right? Like he couldn't handle it. But I thought it was pretty cool that the team was able to all mention him and speak about him and what he meant to the organization. Young guys, they see the picture up on the wall in the indoor facility. They see the placards on the wall and the awards that he's won. But all in all, great player, great man, great teammate. And it sucks that he's gone.
All right, Jeremy. Don Maynard, the passing of Don Maynard.
Yeah, it's I think almost like it's shocking that the retirement of his number didn't happen while he was alive, and but I guess maybe they didn't do it back then, so so it just never happened. But because it's like when you learn about him, because I wasn't me neither. I didn't know. I only knew some highlights and tapes of '69 Super Bowl and everything. It's just a wonder that when you look at his stats, I never realized how good he was. And it's just amazing that we need to do more of that as an organization. Like we need to not wait until they pass away, but talk about the great players, not just Namath, but the other guys. And, hang their jerseys up and make them more noticeable and put more attention to them and build, that kind of just create our own history. Right. And our own traditions and like honor our former great players, like before it's too late. Like let's honor Freeman McNeil and Joe Klecko. Like we need to get together as a community and get him into the Hall of Fame because that's the biggest scam in the world. I don't even consider the Hall of Fame legitimate until they get him in. It's a big hypocrisy. So like we need to fight for those things and fight for our history as an organization, of our team to be remembered and respected because we had great players. And it's just a shame that I'm learning more about him now in his passing than I knew about him, when he was alive.
All right, Kevin, your thoughts on the passing of Don Maynard?
Yeah, obviously, I think we're all kind of just outside of the range of being able to see him play, right? So, I'll be honest. I went back and I watched a few clips a few years ago, and Nick made a point. You kind of see the pictures and you kind of see all of that, and they pay homage in certain ways. But some of the young guys should actually try to be maybe looking at his film, right? To see what it looks like when you have a guy that really is just grinding every single play, and that's what it is that I think that we got from Maynard when he was here, just being the best, one of the best receivers that the game has ever seen. So. Again, I don't know personally what it was like to live through something like that. And obviously, as a Jets fan, I feel for the Jets family and the Jets community. Like I said, I've seen some of the games and some of the footage. And the guy was a beast. I mean, there's no question about that. The numbers still stand in that regard. So I'm excited that we had the opportunity to celebrate him, and I'm hoping that maybe there was some more awareness brought to who it is that he was and really the greatness of his game. I hope that we get a few of the younger guys who really do follow football or just love the game in particular to really go back and see what it is that it looked like to have a Hall of Fame type career the way that he did, especially here, right? Especially here. So excited to say that I think we did it right in the send off that we gave him. It should probably continue for a little while longer. But I think some of the young guys should just probably try to strive to be, in that conversation when it comes to the history of Jets football players and wide receivers specifically.
I hear you. Yeah, my favorite memory of Don Maynard was watching Super Bowl III highlights, and that used to make me excited. I actually went through these memories this past Tuesday on Mission Briefs when I kind of did a little tribute to Don and the Maynard family. And
can y'all hear me?
One of the yeah, I hear you, but your mouth, but there you go. You're moving around, so it's okay. Don't worry. So, one of the biggest things that I enjoyed was watching Don Maynard highlights from Super Bowl III and also from that playoff year, and being able to go on YouTube and see some of his highlights and some of the ridiculous catches that he made. And he was just so fast, so it was just amazing to see him play, see the highlights, and I wish I'd gotten to see him play. Obviously, I mean, I was born in '72, so I didn't get the opportunity to see him play, but it was a tremendous joy for me to be able to watch him play at least. So, all right. On that note, let's pop this off. Got a couple of comments I want to get on the air really quick. One of them from our resident pain in the ass who has made an appearance because he's at work, Mr. Scott Cleesby. Since I'm at work, I've been wanting to say how close we came to the 10 to 12 wins predicted. If we had a few more natural disasters and a couple more plane crashes, we would have had a chance. So, Matthias Simon, me for sure. I saw Namath, Maynard at Sauer. There was a time both had 1,000 yards, both Maynard and Sauer. Guy Fisher in the chat saying, what's up to the crew? Jeff Stenberg to my comment in regards to when I was a kid pretending I was Ken O'Brien. What a depressing childhood that must have been to grow up to pretending to be Ken O'Brien. I responded by it probably would have been even worse pretending to be Steve Grogan. So if you're a true Patriots fan all the way through history, you know what I'm talking about. Guy Fisher was 3 years old when the Jets won the Super Bowl. Matthias Simon again, Maynard, great wide receiver, awesome, great hand. Scott Cleesby again with a little bit of knowledge. The only player to play for the Titans, the Jets, and the Giants, which is correct. Don Maynard was actually drafted by the New York Giants. Did not last very long with them. He was subsequently signed by the New York Titans, which in turn in '60 turned into the aforementioned New York Jets.
I think it's pretty cool. Maynard, when he passed, he's still the Jets' all-time leading receiver. So we all hope and pray Elijah Moore blows it out the water.
Yeah.
But for Maynard to set that record in the early 70s and it lasted 50 years, for him, I think it's fantastic that the day he passed, he was still the all-time leading receiver.
It's wild.
It's double sad, right?
Yeah.
Also, when I couldn't help but think of this joke when you mentioned being Kenny O'Brien. You spent a lot of time in the nurse's office?
No, thank God. So, Jeff Stenberg in the comments again. We need to start a petition to get Kevin Jackson to replace Sherman Ed. Guy Fisher, we have to get back to that pride of wearing the uniform. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the name on the front is a lot more important than the one on the back. And hence the reason why, change that for undergoing this rebranding. To me, I think that they should have just less to dictate to their future. Now, I know that some of the past has not been very kind to the New York Jets and New York Jets fans, but some of the past has actually been very kind, and shows a rich, proud history. All right, maybe not when we got Lou Holtz to coach the New York Jets, and we ended up having a fight song, which is just completely ridiculous, and I just will never play on the air. But for the times of Weeb Eubank, Walt Michaels, Joe Walton, even though he was a Giants personnel person before he ended up getting the job with the New York Jets. I mean, Bruce Coslett, even though he really didn't have the wins and loss record to back up for it, he was a fighter. He was very proud to be the New York Jets head coach. Bill Parcells, who turned this whole program around. Pete Carroll, who I think that they should have given at least another opportunity or another kick in the can before they kind of kicked him to the curb and he ended up going to college. So there have been a lot of Jets coaches in most recent memory and also in the past that have held this job in very, very high esteem. And I truly believe that Robert does as well. And I believe that Joe Douglas does as well. And I think he wants to elevate this back to NFL relevancy. And it's going to take a little bit of work, and it's going to take a lot of patience. So
this draft last year was
Matthias Simon back in the comments. Yep, the draft this year is going to be huge. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this draft shakes out. I know Jeremy has a draft show that he just on Wednesday, or was it Thursday? I know one of them, you had some sort of a bet. You had to swallow hot sauce or whatever, or hot bits.
Yeah, we
hot sauce. You hanging out with Drake?
Yeah, I on Wednesday night to celebrate 200 subscribers, because I just started my channel in November.
Nice.
So I got the 200 subscribers. Thanks. I told everybody, if you get me to 200, I will do, and I don't know how familiar you are with hot sauces, but there's one called The Last Dab. It's from like the show Hot Ones. It's the XXX pepper that was now named the Apollo. It's the hottest pepper. Anyway, I ate a teaspoon of that sauce and did a mock draft on
just the teaspoon, no food or anything with it.
No food with it. Just ate a teaspoon of The Last Dab with my brother. He did it too in solidarity. And then I went through a PFN mock draft simulator and did a Jets draft in that condition. Finished the draft, and then of course swallowed down like milk and yogurt, no stuff in my face and stuff. And people wanted to see me in that pain, so now I have a crazy hot pepper in the freezer, like a real pepper that someone grew for me. And I'm gonna take a big bite of that pepper when I get to 1,000 subscribers. So.
Thoughts and prayers, bro.
Nice.
I'll admit it. I am a pussy when it comes to spice. Like some barbecue potato chips are too hot for me. So I don't. And I blame my mother when I was a kid. The Jets' childhood, being a fan, didn't traumatize me. My mother putting Tabasco sauce in my mouth when I would say a bad word did. So it's more of the trauma that my mother caused that affected my childhood than being.
Oh wow!
Yeah, if you want a good laugh, go to NFL.
Right.
Go to my channel, NFL Chaos with Jeremy on YouTube, and it's one of the top videos. It's like it's called.
You'll be at 201 after the show. I promise. It says
mock draft hot sauce. You'll love it.
Thoughts and prayers, brother. Thoughts and prayers.
I love it. Oh man! All right, so with all that. What I'm going to do is we're going to swing around the room. We'll do final thoughts on the Jets regular season. Jeremy, I'm actually going to start with you this time. Then we'll swing around to Nick, and then I'll finish it off. And then I would like you guys to give out your social media information so fans of Weapons Hot can
Can
follow
we revisit
you.
that Quinton
Kevin
topic?
Jackson, unfortunately, is going to be on.
Can we revisit that Quinton topic you
Yeah,
brought up
absolutely,
earlier?
we can.
And I was very, very interested. Can we add that too before we go off?
As a matter of fact, let's do that now. As a matter of fact, let's revisit the Quinton topic. I believe it was Richard Tinley. He asked the question about do we do the 50-year option for Quinton? So Nick, I'm actually going to start with you. We'll swing around to Jeremy, and then I'll finish it up, and then we'll do the reverse as we do our final thoughts.
No. I don't take the option. I think you give him a full-blown extension this offseason. I think you give him the extension. You got to remember, this guy's been doing it by himself. He was supposed to have Lawson on the edge this year, which was going to take the pressure off of him.
Right.
Myers had a little bit of a spurt there, a good run. Then Huff gets hurt. It's like we haven't had a full D line. Quinton has said all the right things. He's done all the right things. He's been out there by himself. When you look at D-line, look at the Rams with Donald. Even though Donald is the best interior D lineman probably ever, he's had Robert Quinn. They went out and got Fowler. They went out and get Von Miller. Because even the Rams know, as great as Donald is, an edge presence helps your interior. You can neutralize the interior with double, with rollouts, sometimes triple teams on Donald. But if you can get Quinton in one-on-one matchups and there's an edge presence on the outside, it takes him to the other level. Like his quickness is his speed and his get off is elite. But when you get a big mauler, he can be neutralized. But if you have an edge guy that now you're stunting with speed and speed's coming up the middle instead of Quinton going up on a guard, the scheme and what you can do when you have an edge guy. And hopefully, I'm manifesting it. Aiden Hutchinson and Lawson, Myers and Quinton on passing downs. That's a hell of a pass rush. That's going to take Quinton to another level. If Quinton wants to wait and play up, and he says, I want to wait another year for the extension, then obviously, yes, you take it. But if you're Joe Douglas, we finally got a guy who is deserving of a second contract. I think the conversation should happen. Do you want to take the contract extension now? Or do you want to bet on yourself, play another year? Because then we'll take the option. I think the Jets approach Quinton and say, we love everything you've done. We love the guy that you are in the community. You're our Man of the Year nominee this year. We respect you and what you're doing for the team. Do you want the extension now? Or do you want us to take the option and extend you next offseason? But he deserves it. He deserves it. From a Jets fan standpoint, do it now because you might save a little bit. Because once you get those edge guys and then he balls out next year, it's going to cost you more. So from a fan aspect, from a cap aspect, from an organization aspect, do it now. From a Quinton aspect, you bet on yourself. You could probably add 10, 15 million more to that contract next year if you go out and you hit double-digit sacks and you ball the fuck out.
I think I agree. If you can get him at a reasonable price and an extension, and we get a little bit of a discount because we do it now, lock him down. One of the things that people don't talk about is he doesn't get nearly the reps as the other top interior guys as well. Like the way we rotate, and he still put up numbers that were really impressive. Like when you consider the amount of snaps he plays. Also, another key thing that we noticed during the season, me and a lot of people I watch with and talk to, is that his sacks are actually meaningful. The timing of his sacks he steps up at the right moment. It's their 3rd and 8, when they're at our 20. I mean, like he does it at the big moments. So, and that's the kind of guy you want. You don't want a guy who does it, the waste kind of sacks when you're down by 20 points or you're up by 30 points and they stack their stats. This guy was stepped up as a leader when we needed to him in those big moments. And if we can get him signed and locked in, that would be nice just to know that that's done. We got JFM who's going to move to the inside. Then we just have to hope Lawson comes back from that injury, and is like a Kevin Durant kind of success story from that kind of injury. And then if one of those two guys, Thibodeau or Hutchinson, slip, I mean, that's going to be a dangerous defensive line.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The only thing, though, is I would use the 5th-year option on Quinton. Now, Nick, I understand your point of view as far as locking him up because you think that you could probably get him at a hometown discount right now. Here's the problem, and we saw this a little bit with John Franklin Myers, which I'm a little bit disappointed. Sometimes when you give that contract to somebody, when you give that contract to a player, they have a tendency to disappear on the football field. I know that our defense is supposed to be one of the strengths of this defense this season. Got decimated by injuries, not having Carl Lawson, not having Vinny Curry, not really having the type of rotation that we would have liked to have. Quinton continuing to get double teamed and so on. But JFM played his ass off the year before last. And in this year, there were times where he made an impact, and there were times where he completely disappeared. And I think that Joe Douglas is looking for guys that when you step out onto the field, I need you to have an impact. And you need to have an impact right away, early, and often. So I think that if it were me and I'm Joe Douglas, I'm having this conversation with Quinton Williams saying, I need you to get better. We'll extend your option. And at the end of next season, if you're in a spot where we want you, then we'll have a conversation about contract extension. And I think they'll throw the bag at him. But
let me ask you guys this.
I think that
let me throw out a scenario for you. The Muhammad Wilkerson contract, 6 years, $85 million, right? Is that a bad contract for Quinton, or you take that right now? I'm pretty sure it was 6 for 85, right, for Mo?
Right.
How much of that was guaranteed?
But Mo was also coming off a career year, though.
I think 35. I think 35 was guaranteed. I'm a numbers guy. If I'm off a little bit, forgive me, but I'm almost certain it was 6 for 85 with like 35 or 37 guaranteed. I'd have to look it up, but off the top of my head. Don't forget, after the Bengals game, Salah said, we go as this D-line goes. And I understand, CJ, you made a great point with Myers. I don't want to say he disappeared, but that's right when Huff got hurt. And edge rushers need to complement one another, right? Because if you don't have a legitimate threat on the other side, you can be chipped, you can be double teamed, you can be neutralized if you're an only guy. And it was supposed to be Lawson, Quinton, Rankins, and Myers and Huff. Huff goes down. Curry was signed, never even played a play with us. Lawson never played a play with us. So you saw the approach of the front office and the coaching staff was to stack rusher after rusher after rusher. You look at the Niners. I post this picture on Twitter, Facebook. Every time I see people talking and say, we got to take Stingley Jr., I post a picture of the last 12 first-round picks of the 49ers. Guard, lineman, edge, tackle, edge, tackle, edge. It's nonstop. They took Jimmy Ward a safety with the 28th pick of the first round, late in the first round. But all of their early picks are linemen on both sides of the ball, and they win in the trenches. And pray to Jesus Christ that they win in the trenches this weekend against the Cowboys. But that's another topic for another podcast. But America's team this week is the Bills and the 49ers, because we need both of those teams to win. But you look at the plan for this team. They don't take corners early. Show me on the 49ers where they took a cornerback before the second round. No. I'll tell you right now, they didn't. They signed Sherman in the twilight of his career on a cheaper deal. But this
Mm-hmm.
team believes in coaching up and building up their secondary and teaching them the scheme and having good tacklers in the open field and getting after the quarterback. So you're going to see major investments. I would be shocked if Quinton doesn't get a contract extension this offseason, because I think you want to start showing the players, we're going to reward you for being a good guy in the community. We're going to reward you for not bringing any negativity to the organization.
Right.
So I would be shocked, but I don't think it's a guarantee. Does that make sense? I could see it going
it makes
both
sense.
ways.
I mean, I don't know if I would go the 6-year route like they did with Mo. I mean, for me, I could see
he's young too. He's only
4 years, 50 million,
23.
28 guaranteed.
He's young too. He's only 23. So you can get him the first 2 or 3 years before he even hits his prime at 26, 27.
Yeah, that is true. That'd be an problem to have, because there's a part of you that says, yeah, you want to lock him up because you want him to be a Jet forever. And then another part that's like, well, dude, you really didn't show me much this season. You need to step up. So yeah, as an act of good faith, we'll give you we'll pick up the 5th-year option, but you got to show me that you could play here on a high level consistently. So, but again, there's so many mitigating factors involved where play right. Nathan Shepard didn't play right a couple of games. The defensive rotation never happened the way that they wanted to because their depth kind of disappeared. So, I mean, I don't know. It's actually an interesting debate for the offseason, because if you take a look at stats, take a look at extending a 5th-year option versus giving him a Mo Wilkerson type deal like Nick just did. That's a great. That really is. That's a great debate. It
sounds like a good deal to me, but what I like about that deal is I think it's a reasonable yearly, cap hit. Like, I think it's reasonable, and the guarantee, like if it was like that deal of $35 million, that's basically 2, and then you're going to take a hit if you cut them the 3rd season. So you're talking about 3 seasons, which is kind of perfectly aligned with when a lot of the draft picks, we're going to have to worry about making all those decisions. So when it's time to make all those big money decisions, and like we're going to be thinking about Zach at that time and AVT, and we're gonna have a lot of money decisions to make because that draft and then the Becton before that. By then we're going to be paying him. It's the right time to know if we missed, hopefully, but we know that if we missed, and if Williams is a disappointment, we can get out of it. Right. So when you say 35 million guaranteed, I hear the perfect timing of being able to make a good educated decision at that time. And hey, if we get 3 more years of him, he'll be a bargain if he works out. Right.
And you structure the contract where the year that the cap goes up really big, he gets paid well that year before everyone else needs their extensions. So you balloon him that year before you got to pay the quarterback and you got to do everybody else. And you could put incentives in. That's the big thing now, right? You see everybody getting incentives. You get 8 sacks, it's $500,000. You get 10 sacks, it's $1 million. You get 12 sacks, it's $2 million. You can put bonuses in every year to hide the money in the contract where it's not guaranteed and it's not hitting your cap, because that seems to be players betting on themselves, getting those incentives. It's a way that teams are working around the extra money. You could put $500,000 for 6 sacks. You could structure it lower to make it more credible that he reaches those, and you're paying him hidden money instead of the guaranteed money on top. Yeah. So that's where Douglas and the creativity and the fact that we all know he's not going to put us in cap hell. We know he's not going to write bad contract after bad contract. All of his contracts are going to be team friendly, able to get out of, like you said, if God forbid there's a disaster with the player. But that's where we put all our faith in JD, right?
Yeah. In JD we trust.
Absolutely. Amen.
He wasted no time in making. He wasted no time in making before the Buffalo game. Shaq Lawson out. He cut some other never even heard of. So I'm like, he ain't playing around. He already trying to get his cap situation straight. So that way, when March 13th comes around, start the year, that he could hit the ground running. So it'd be really interesting to see after the playoffs, after the Super Bowl, when we finally get that calm down period, when you start seeing players released, who's getting cut, who's this, who's that, different coaches getting hired, and so on and so forth. So the NFL landscape next year is going to look dramatically different than it did this year. So it should be interesting to see. All right, anyhow, let's finish up with some final thoughts. Jeremy, you're on the clock. Go for it.
Look, I got suckered into the paper thing, look how good we are here and there and there. I didn't see the injuries coming, so I was hoping that we could surprise everybody and get more like 7-8 wins this season. So obviously I'm disappointed in that, but I am happy with. I would say the thing I'm happy with, try to stay really positive, is it's not like the season before. Forgetting whether we won 2 or 4 games, it's a totally different feeling. When the 20 season ended, there was nothing. There was so little to be happy about or excited about. This year, we leave the season with a rookie quarterback who progressed and got better throughout the year, came back after the injury, was a totally different quarterback. You see the growth. You see him becoming what could be what we've been waiting for so long. Then we look, and Michael Carter, I think at running back, and I knew he was good, but that's actually a surprise to me because I'm seeing a guy who might be elite. Like, we might have a top 10, top 8, top 6 running back in this league. Before he had that injury, that run and his progression, and you remember, again, he's a rookie. And you usually don't see rookie running backs playing, putting up 1,000+ seasons anyway. But from what I was seeing, can you imagine when we build up that offensive line, when we get that right guard and we're growing that line, how good Michael Carter is going to be? And then you got Elijah Moore, that's my boy, that's my guy, who I think is going to be a very special player. Then on the other side, you got the other Michael Carter, who already is a top 10, if not higher, slot cornerback in his rookie year. To me, that spells a guy who's going to be top 3 elite guy at his position. I think Bryce Hall stepped up nicely. I don't know if he's the CB1 in the future, but when our edge improves it, imagine when we pressure the guys. Imagine when the edge is there, when Lawson's back, and we get that draft pick, how good Bryce Hall becomes. And then people want to knock on Echols. Why? It's common for a rookie cornerback to get picked on. It's common for a rookie cornerback to make mistakes. I think it's amazing when you consider what round he was picked, that he was able to contribute and he was not a disaster, which is incredible. So to me, I'm excited because we leave this season with a lot of new guys and a lot of, tons of draft capital, cap space, and actually real core players to build around now. So I'm feeling good about it. I trust the coaching staff. I think they grew and improved too as the season went on.
All right, Nikki, you're up. You're on the clock. Go for it. Fine.
Jeremy, don't take this the wrong way, but you just became my man crush because you say all the same shit that I've been saying all year. We got the blue-collar guys this year, right? We got Vera Tucker in the trenches. And all the rookies that you mentioned, I don't even think you brought up Vera Tucker. That's how good this draft class is. You didn't even mention our blue-chip player of it. I've said all year, watching Carter, he doesn't take losses. He makes something out of nothing time and time again. He'll spin off a guy 2 yards deep, lunge forward, get +3. So it's a +5 on the play. That shit's not in the stat sheet. But that's a 5-yard difference. 2nd and 12 and 2nd and 7 is a major difference in this league.
Yeah.
And my line all year is Imagine how good Michael Carter is going to be when he has actual holes to run through. He is going to be fantastic. He is a poor man's Marshall Faulk. He can run, he can catch, he can make guys miss. When the line gets better, this kid is going to blow up. I don't think it's crazy next year because we all feel and think we're investing, another blue chip piece into the line. 1,100 yards running, 500 yards receiving. I don't think it's crazy to think he's going to have a 1,600-yard season next year if everything goes the right way. You look at this system, look at the Niners. Everyone's like, oh, Zach Wilson, I need 35 touchdowns. Stop. That's not what this system does. He's going to be Jimmy G. He's going to manage the game, give us a drive at the end of the game to win it, make some key third down throws. If there's a game where the matchup is hot, yeah, you might go for 350 and 3 touchdowns. But week in and week out, give us between 225 and 250, make some key third down throws, execute the offense the right way, and then some weeks, catch and run, you blow up with stats. But we're not going to be a Brady, a Rodgers, a Dak throwing the ball all over the field. We are going to grind it the fuck out. We are going to steam plow motherfuckers at the line of scrimmage. We are going to control the clock. We're going to make key throws. We're going to get up. We're going to keep the offense on the field. We're going to rest the defense, and then we're going to get after the quarterback. Because my thing, time and time again, Giants beat the Patriots twice by sending 4. San Francisco got to the Super Bowl by sending 4. The Buccaneers last year, even though I think their Super Bowl is a complete farce because of the injuries to the Green Bay offensive line and the Kansas City offensive line, nobody talks about how fucking banged up those 2 offensive lines were. It's the only reason they won the Super Bowl is because you had backups trying to block 4 guys. But the key is when you play this zone, you keep 7 back, get a little faster at middle linebacker. I know the 2 guys we drafted that were safeties and moved up, Sherwood and Nasruddin, both got hurt. They were supposed to grow into bigger roles this year. One might just be a special teamer, which ain't bad. You can't hit on every pick, right? The fact that we had all these guys contributing and playing, and even Marshall, our 7th-round pick, if we lose Fatukasi, he might move into a bigger role. So you look at this draft class, and something that Jets fans live on is hope. We hope players work out. We hope the coaching staff does the right thing. We hope the GM hits on back-to-back draft classes. I think when you look at this organization and where they are and the structure they have and the culture they have and the drafting captains time and time again, when you have a team of leaders, you don't need anybody to be led. And that's where this team is going. It's a team that we are going to be excited about. It's a team that is going to manhandle people. We manhandled the Buccaneers in the run game with backups on backups. That's why I'm picking the Eagles this weekend, because if we manhandled the Buccaneers, I think the Eagles will manhandle the Bucs and run all over them this weekend. But when you can manhandle people in the trenches, you have a chance every single week because you don't have to rely on receivers to get open all the time. You don't have to rely on your tight end to dog the linebackers. When you can line up and beat the shit out of people in the trenches and get 4 yards a clip, you're going to frustrate them. You're going to make them get out of their safety zone. And that's when, as an offensive coordinator with LaFleur, who, to me, the most improved part of our team this year was Mike LaFleur. From the beginning, when we couldn't score in the first half, to having touchdown drives 3 in a row, the best thing that happened to Mike LaFleur this year was Zach getting hurt, because he doesn't give a shit if Flacco, Josh Johnson, or Mike White fail. There's no investment in them. He was able to evolve the playbook, and you saw us light it up. When he gets to that comfort zone with Zach, it's going to be a very, very dangerous team. I'm excited, as you could tell. Like I'm very excited about the future of our team because it's going to be built the right way. It's going to have sustainability, and it's going to have just a wrecking ball, which is the type of football I love. I could have kept going, but I'll cut it short. Excuse me.
Absolutely. I love it. Real quick, our show's running a little bit longer, and our our main producer over at Worldwide Sports Radio Network, letting me go. So, just real quick, this season didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to, but you know what? It's got to get better on the horizon. Joe Douglas will still have a lot of work to do, but it'll get done. So we have to let football people do football work, and that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. We got this bitch and moan about what happened, what we think should happen, mock drafts, this mock draft, that mock draft. I can't wait for Rockaway Archie, Simon Baccarella, and now Jeremy Cravat over here to do mock draft 110.2, which will be coming out very soon. So
CJ, you're gonna hate me. I do mock draft Monday.
So anyhow,
since October.
Nice. There we go. All right. So in that case, we got to add in Nick Shine's mock draft 214.1. So all right, he's going toe to toe with what's his face there, Todd McShay from ESPN, that always has 50,000 mock drafts. So I think his cat has a mock draft too. So who the hell knows? We'll find out. We got all off season. Anyhow, we're gonna get out of here. You can follow us on CNC. You can follow us on Twitter at CNC Jets Factor, 0523. Kevin Jackson at Spotty Blackman. Jimmy the Reaper Jardine at Jets by Jimmy. 3 places you can catch Weapons Hot. 1, here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network at 7 p.m. 2, Weapons Hot on YouTube. Get us to 250 subscribers. Come on. If you get us to 250 subscribers, we'll do something cool, I promise. All right? Spread the word. And number 3, every Tuesday night on Jets World, yours truly does a solo segment called Weapons Hot Mission Briefs. So, real quick, we'll go around the room. Give out your social media information. Fans of Weapons Hot can follow you. And then right after Jeremy's done, Nick, you chime right in as well.
Okay, so it's just NFL Chaos with Jeremy on YouTube. I do a show every Wednesday at about 9:30 Eastern p.m. I do pretty much like I'll be on a little bit later. So on Friday nights, I'll pop in and just do like a hangout or mock draft. I'm known for that. And a lot of the people like who follow me know that you never know when I'm going to pop on. So I always tell people who go to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell. I also have tons of guests. So Spotty was on a Wednesday with me. CJ, you're obviously in the lineup, and eventually we'll get together and hook up, and you'll be with me on a Wednesday. Big Nick, you won me over, man. Anybody who calls me their man crush, and hook up with me on Twitter or something. I'm at Jeremy Cravat or something. Let's hook up on Twitter. I'd love to have you on. I always have an open invitation to my friends to join me. It's like I hate being alone in front of the camera. So it's always good to have good people that love the Jets, that have good takes, and NFL Chaos with Jeremy. That's what it's all about right now for me.
Awesome. I run a Facebook page called Proud New York Jets Fans. Search me out on there. Jeremy, hit me up, and then we'll connect and we'll talk. Also the same on YouTube. Jimmy Jardine and I started it. Neither one of us has the laptop equipment to facilitate the page right now. I'm getting one shortly, so we're going to get back into doing our podcast together. Once we get that going, you guys are more than welcome, join all the time. Twitter, Big Nick _ SEC 325. I started in 2016 and my seats were in section 325. But yeah, thank you for having me on again. Appreciate it, man. I, as you can tell, I could talk Jets forever. So thank you.
Dude, you're welcome back anytime. You know that. So, all right, gentlemen, for Mr. Jeremy Cravat and Mr. Nick Shine Jr., I'm your host, CJ the Painkiller D. Simone, for tonight. And we will see you guys when we see you guys. Peace, love, go Jets. And I'm going to leave you guys tonight with the best chant in the National Football League that'll ever play. This has been Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.